watching Morning at NTV.
For being with us on Tuesday's edition of Morning at NTV, the 14th of November 2023. I am Priscilla Regina Naloga, and this morning we are taking note of the chartering of the course of Africa's aviation sector, the backbone of it being that a growing middle class, increasing continental integration and huge economic potential all provide reason to be optimistic about the future of Africa's aviation sector. Yet many governments still see the industry as a cash cow or a point of national pride. At least 500 delegates from 35 African countries will convene in Kampala between the 19th of November to the 21st of November 2023 for the African Airlines Association Annual General Assembly, in which the summit will see top CEOs in the country, including BOEING, AIRBUS, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenyan Airlines, etc. Now, the meeting will, among other things, discuss the challenges as well as the opportunities for Africa's aviation sector. To give us more insight about this annual General Assembly and more information about the African aviation space and its opportunities, we do have Shakira Rahim Lamar, the Head of Corporate Affairs and Communications at the Uganda Airlines. Good morning to you, Shakira, and you're most welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, first give us a brief about this African Airlines Annual General Assembly that is happening.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. The African Airlines Association is a collective of African airlines that subscribe to it, and it was set up in 1968 in Accra, Ghana. So usually every end of year they host delegates, or they host all the countries at an AGA, Annual General Assembly, to accept resolutions or sign them off that will set the pace for the next year. So this time around, the airline, Uganda Airlines, will be hosting it, and we're very delighted that it's the first ever in the region, and it's the 55th, so you can imagine. So, and what it means for Uganda is that you have 500 aviators coming into the country, and these are aircraft manufacturers like Airbus and BOEING and Embraer and other outfits. You have maintenance organizations, you have fuel companies that supply jet fuel, you have academia, researchers coming in, you have regulators, ICAO, IATA. All these will be in one room, and this provides an opportunity for networking. It provides an opportunity for the country also, for those people will be spending forex here. So it provides an opportunity for exposure for this country. For example, the airline is only 3 years old, but you can imagine now if we bring such a big event that it's always on the calendar of African calendar, is the biggest event in the aviation space, and we're bringing it home. It provides some optimism into the industry. It breathes some fresh air into the industry. That is what AFRAA means.
Okay, all right. You have talked about resolutions pending pen and agreements, and then you've also talked about others that will be discussed and then formulated into resolutions. So what are some of those resolutions pending pen and agreement? Then also, what are the other critical issues that you will talk about in this assembly?
So now you find that AFRAA also supports these airlines in terms of regulations. For example, opening up the continent. Remember, there are restrictions of inter-Africa travel. So they're saying that why can't we open the space so that costs can come down, okay? And you find that some of these resolutions are going to center around things like sustainable aviation fuels. That's the point of discussion, a key discussion now, because we're saying that if we have all these targets, Africa is not ready. Young airlines are not ready. And also things like women in aviation. It's very critical to increase the number of women in aviation. If you're looking at youth, how can we attract the youth into the aviation space? And you could see the demographics. You have older people who are still in these jobs because of the experience. How can we start now nurturing the next generation of aviators for these jobs as others retire and go away, and then we bring in a new pool or a new crop of aviators. So these are some of the key issues. And also, even how are we achieving operational efficiency in the sector, and how are we bringing down the costs? How are we managing distribution, logistics of all? So these are some of the key issues that we'll be talking about.
Okay,
yes.
Well, that's interesting to know. You've talked about the youth, and I remember I was on Mitiana Road over the weekend, and there's a group of young boys that have designed their own aircraft. I was like, okay, so that's their perception and understanding, and that's the closest they can come to their desire of participating in the aviation sector. But that's a story for another day. Looking into the future of the aviation sector across Africa, in light of the fact that post-COVID-19, you've had some airlines on the African continent closing shop. How does this reflect on the aviation's growth?
It really impeded its growth, specifically for Uganda Airlines, because it was, I think, 9 months into formation or revival. So we had, of course, to step back and realign, and then re-strategize, change the strategy, bring some things closer, bend some things. So you find that even when you look at the whole scope globally, governments have come in to save national carriers to the tune of $295 million. $1 billion actually. So you find that globally, when you quantify that, that is a really huge injection. So, but right now we are past it, I would say, and we're looking at more people flying. Airports have opened up. People are more interested into traveling. You have cargo now. Cargo operations are going up. You find that now Africa, I think when we paused a bit, you could see conversions of aircrafts into cargo aircrafts. So it shows you now cargo is the new gold. And that is where it is anticipated that revenues are going to come from for the next, looking at the next 5 years. Airlines are anticipating that if they can grow their cargo operations, we'll be able to really recoup and fill the gap from what COVID really caused. Yes. Okay.
So with those realignments or strategies that you did a few years down the road, you've opened up new routes, most recently to Nigeria. Before that, you had opened up one to Mumbai. What's been the performance of those routes so far?
Actually, maybe if I could go back. Actually, after COVID, what we did, we brought forward self-handling. Okay. Now we handle ourselves. Yes. So that has really saved our costs to up to 40%. From the hub, because from the hub, that is where all the flights start. So now with the new routes, also that is another strategy that we have to fill the gap. London and Mumbai, these are one of the most anticipated routes in the country, and you find that Lagos, why we started Lagos even in time for Mumbai, was because it's a feeder. We wanted it to feed into Mumbai. So you find that sometimes there is cargo from Mumbai, Entebbe, Lagos. So you find that opening these new routes, especially now for Lagos, we are opening up, we are positioning an air bridge, West Africa to East Africa. So it is easing connectivity. When you look at 15 hours, now we've broken them down to, with the Airbus, 3.5 or 4 hours. It is something that is exciting. And then also for business, for tourism, for trade, for our oil and gas, that cross exposure of sectors, and then also for pharma, because we import a lot of pharmaceuticals from Mumbai. And then also we're looking forward to export agriculture products. But now we need to add value to them so that they can be marketable.
Okay. Yes. I know that one of the hindrances for the inter-Africa trade has been transport. and you know, the sovereignty of states in regards to opening up their spaces both by road and air in regards to supporting the inter-Africa trade. How are these routes able to then break that particular issue up to enhance trade between different parts of Africa?
Yes, Satam will do that for us because now it's opening up the market. We're saying that the airline should be able to fly to Lusaka or Lusaka, Harare, and also pick from Joburg and bring, and then vice versa. So if such a spirit opens up, then you'll see reduced fares, because of the continent the fares are too high, also because of the taxes. Actually, it's cheaper to fly into Europe, different countries in Europe, than in Africa. It's very costly. And you know, we don't have the connectivity for roads is really minuscule. So what we have is air transport. So now we are saying that we need to open up these borders. And also another thing, also visas. We need to start being flexible with visas, so that we can ease tourism, we can ease business, we can ease travel. Because now also what the airline is looking at is to try and grow youth travel. Because youth these days, they're very, what can I say? They're very...
They're explorers.
Yeah, they're explorers. They're not encumbered. They don't have much baggage. And they have money. You know, they keep doing many interesting things, innovative things to get their money. So they want to travel. Someone wakes up one day and just puts a rucksack on their backs, and then off they go. So that is what we want to grow. But you can't grow that when you don't have when travel is not cheap for them.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that also some of the things that you will be discussing at the annual general assembly?
Yes.
Because it's very critical for all the 35 states to come together in unison and have that same voice regarding the points that you raise.
Yes. One of the key, actually, the most anticipated panels at the tourism is the tourism panel, because we'll bring in one of Uganda's tourism expert on the panel, and we wanted to fuse aviation and tourism, because you see, tourists are the ones that feel our aircrafts. Those are the ones that we bring into countries to spend. So we're saying that far too long, AFRAA has not done that. And for us, we said, let's turn things around and bring in these experts. Let them tell us what's happening, what to expect, how we can improve experience, and how we can even grow this youth travel. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I believe that discussion will break the barrier of just airlines being national pride, full stop. Let's talk to the 2025 general deadline of the partially incorporating the sustainable aviation fuel. What are your thoughts on that? Where do we stand right now?
Yes. Well, we've been mulling over it as a continent, as AFRAA, because, you know, we have the presidency. The CEO is the president of AFRAA, and those are one of the key pointers she's been advocating for, to look at how they can be relaxed. Some of these deadlines are very, very harsh. For example, the airline is only 3 years old, and then here you slam such a deadline on it. We are supposed to have a blend of 2% for sustainable aviation fuel, so which means that even our engines have to be reconfigured. Even our engineers have now to change their mindset. They have to be trained and type-rated onto the kind of engine that is SAF ready. So these are the kind of conversations that we're going to have. And then even when you look at the deadline of 2050, if you're flying into Europe, you have to be blended 100%. So we're saying this is also harsh, I would say. Of course, it's far off, but we're saying now the distribution of this fuel. Where are we getting it? And for those, for example, 2-3 airlines that have tasted it, it's been an arm and a leg. It's very, very costly. And when we're talking about, because it's a plant-based fuel, we're saying, who is growing this fuel now? rather the plant varieties.
That is true.
Yes.
And is there anyone growing it in Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the conversations that,
yeah,
of course, speculators and others, they've started. But now, as Uganda now, that is the focus now. In terms of policy, in terms, even us in the business, we need to start now thinking in that direction so that we are not left behind. We shouldn't be the last. Yes, as always.
All right. So
yes.
in case we're not able to beat the deadline, what could be the catastrophic implications of that for the airlines?
I think hope is not lost. You see, we have to sit on the table, and because you see, the European carriers are flying into African continent, so I think we should be able to reach an understanding. No, we should be able to reach an understanding and say, hey, we're not ready, we don't have our lines of production ready, or we don't have distribution lines in place. We have to start somewhere. 2025 is not far away, but now for us we have also modern fleet. So we can be able to reconfigure it, but it's going to be very costly. And you know what that means? It drives up the cost of fares for travel. And if we're advocating for intra-African travel with all our problems and taxes and all these things, so if you have now this fuel that is up on the roof, it's going to complicate matters.
Okay.
Yes.
From where I'm seated, it sounds like they are trying to keep their airlines into Africa, the routes alive, and so they have to put stringent conditions, you know, for you not to do the reverse. But nevertheless, I know that there's opportunities within Europe, the Middle East, and the Americans. And we want to find out, with your projections, how do we benefit from these routes in the near future?
That means that if we start spreading our wings wide like that, it means that, of course, we would have clicked the point of connectivity, and there will be export boom, because you can imagine if we are to align ourselves and be able to position these aircrafts there and position the belly of 32 tons and to be exporting agriculture produce, that is really immense. And also connectivity from all these feeder routes that we have opened up will be able to for example, to grow the hub in Tebe. And that is business for the airline. It's business for Ugandans. More jobs, more forex, more development in the region. And even now, you can imagine if we start flying to Europe, even before we get, for example, if we open up London, it means that we can have strategic partnerships with another carrier that can uplift you to your destination. So these are the opportunities that have opened for the airline. So, but majorly is the connectivity and ease of doing business.
Okay,
yes.
All right. Let's look at back in 2018, the sector actually contributed $80 billion to the continent's gross domestic product, and that was support of 9.6 million jobs. Now, when you compare that with other continents, of course, aviation in Africa is still lagging behind in terms of traffic capacity and the connectivity that you speak about. With the General Assembly taking place, how is the airline, especially for us in Uganda, being supported to register profits for the country?
Now, you see, for example, when we look at the national carrier as an airline, it's an infrastructure, like a road. And for airlines to break even, actually, not even profitability, you have to give them 7 years to break even. But for us, we're very glad that we are using our only internal generated revenues to meet our targets and our budget at 81%. So that is very good, without even, of course, waiting for government support. But if we are meeting our...
So the 29 is covered by government, and then the 81 is covered by what you generate as an airline.
Yes. Okay. So you can imagine in 10 years what will happen. But like I said, it is an infrastructure. So when government says we are positioning this aircraft for Lagos or Mumbai, it is giving you an opportunity to go do business in these places. It is now up to all of us to say, here we have Mumbai. What are we taking to Mumbai? What are we taking to Lagos? What shall we take to Guangzhou? So that also we do not just bring in, but also take out. So now we need to think about adding value to this produce. How to increase our export base, how to understand the regulatory regimes of exporting into these markets, how to understand eco-labeling, how to now understand our value chains, traceability into agriculture. Where are we getting our products? Are they organic? So these are the things that we have to look into. But the government has already done its job. It has put money into capitalize the airline to be able to position these aircraft in these places. And also when we talk about profitability, every time we open up a route, give it 3 years, because you're spending money, fuel, while developing this route. You're opening up offices, you're marketing, all this is money going out to develop a route. So you have to give it 3 years. But the most important thing is ease of doing business for Ugandans, for them to be able to have a direct flight to these places.
Okay.
Yes. So as we will look forward to AFRAA, the issue is now reduction of cost. How do you manage your cost as an airline? How do you reduce the attrition rates? Yes. For operational efficiency.
All right, let's talk about the single African air transport market that was launched in 2018. It brought about the liberty and liberalization of the sector. And so it begs the question, what are some of the sector's driving growth factors?
Now for that, for example, we also have to be signatories to Satam, which we have not. And we thought at the end of the presidency would have signed on, but that is of course the minister and the state's duty to do that. But of course when you look at growth factors, is that when you open up these routes, when you open up these markets, it's for the country's benefit, because there are places that we can't fly now because we're not signatories. So also that impedes the country's efforts to enter into these markets, for people to fly freely, for us to go into them. It becomes harder for us to penetrate these markets. And when you look at growth, you're looking at tourism, you're looking at trade, you're looking at all these other opportunities that come with ease of connectivity. Yes, but Satam is going to unlock all this the potential, and that is one of the key conversations that we're going to have. And I'm glad the minister will be in the room. Okay,
so when you say Satam is going to open up, does that imply that we're close to becoming signatories?
Yes, we are close. Of course, that is a decision that the state will have to make eventually. Yes, but we have, Uganda has been very welcoming. You could see all the carriers that come, pick and drop, and we've been very flexible. We've really been very flexible, even without Satam, because you have all these national carriers coming in and into the country and doing business. Yes. Okay.
All right. In your closing remarks, what else do we hope to gain out of this annual General Assembly and Uganda being the host?
First of all, it's the pride that we have brought it home. And we feel very honored to have hosted 55. It's a very, I would say it's a magical number. And then also, it's not easy to fly in all those giants into the country, tech giants in the aviation space, manufacturers. So it will really be an honor. But what does it leave? What mark does it leave? You find that attendees, Ugandan attendees or participants, will have networked. Some of these people are looking for business. They have done everything in Europe. And Africa is the one with the opportunities. So you can imagine if you're in the room with people with a net worth of over $200 billion or $300 billion, or, you know, you can imagine what that means, such companies. So there's a lot of business, networking, and then also, of course, for us, most importantly, tourism, because if these people are coming in, as they've started flying in anyway, and they started flying in, and they're going to go to Burundi to trek the gorillas, they're going to go to River Nile, they're going to tour the country, and then some of them are going to even stay longer. Those who will come on Saturday will stay longer and also still tour the country. And this is exposure for the country, and then also for us as the official carrier, of course it's business for us. We're flying in all these delegates and things like that, and some of them the first time guests that we'll be having on board, they'll be experiencing what we have to offer as an airline. So that is really remarkable for us.
Okay,
yes.
All right. Well, the one thing that we pride in as Uganda is our hospitality. And so we trust that as a national carrier, hospitality, they've got it tick constantly. And so we are very expectant of the African Airlines Association annual General Assembly that will be taking center stage between the 19th and the 21st of November 2023. And so thank you so much, Shakira Rahim Lamar, for giving us this wonderful insight into the hopes and the expectations that we have as Uganda, and also the pending Satam signatory there, as she has rightly put it, that we do have our Ugandan CEO being the president of the association as we speak, and hopefully by the end of that tenure we'll have had that signature put to the agreement, so that Uganda can be able to benefit into the enormous opportunities that are in the aviation sector across Africa. That marks the end of our Tech Note. Thank you so much for having been with us. Land acquisition conversation coming up. Do stay with us.